Jimmy Haslam's sitting in a luxury box, sipping overpriced water, watching Arch Manning underthrow a wide-open receiver in front of 100,000 fans, and apparently thinking, yeah, that's our guy. And now, we're adding Arch Manning to the mix. Because apparently Shedeur Sanders, Mr. Five-Star Swagger, the walking documentary, The Future, is being eyed for a one-way ticket to the practice squad to make room for college football's most overhyped royal baby. You can't make this up.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Jimmy Haslam and Browns GM Andrew Berry were spotted at the Ohio State versus Texas game. Not just casually strolling through. Not just networking. They were locked in, allegedly scouting none other than Arch freaking Manning. Now, if you've paid even half attention to college football in the past 3 years, you know exactly who Arch is. Nephew of Peyton. Grandson of Archie. Son of the NFL Illuminati. The golden boy with a last name heavier than a linebacker. And yet, here's the twist. He's not even playing that well. He's not lighting up the scoreboard. He's not commanding the field like his bloodline says he should. He's struggling. Missing throws. Looking rattled. And yet, NFL executives are still drooling over him like he's already got a bust in Canton. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders, who's already in the league, who's already taken NFL hits, who's shown poise and accuracy under real pressure, is apparently disposable? A practice squad candidate? This isn't just confusing. It's insulting. Shedeur didn't just show up in the NFL with a last name and a smile. He earned his spot. He got drafted way later than he should have, took it on the chin, and still walked into camp like a leader. And even before he's gotten his fair shot to start, rumors swirl that the franchise is ready to ship him off to clipboard purgatory for a quarterback who hasn't even declared for the draft. If you're not angry yet, you're not paying attention. Because this isn't just about Arch versus Shedeur. It's about hype versus proof, potential versus performance. And, let's be honest, privilege versus perseverance. Arch Manning walked into college football wearing crown. And look, that's not his fault. He didn't ask for the coronation. But he got it anyway. The endorsements. The headlines. The instant comparisons to his legendary uncles. But when the lights came on, the throws have been mid. The mechanics shaky. The composure questionable. And still, the NFL can't look away. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders walks into the league with everything stacked against him. A fifth-round pick because people didn't like his flash. Because he wore watches. Because he dared to be marketable and talented. Because he had confidence and connections. And that rubbed the old-school guys the wrong way. So now the Browns, who haven't had a stable QB since dinosaurs roamed the earth, are reportedly considering replacing their high-upside, battle-tested young quarterback with a college player who hasn't proven anything at the NFL level. Jimmy Haslam, blink twice if you're being held hostage by bad decisions. Let's talk about the optics here. Because this isn't just a football decision, it's a PR minefield. Shedeur is the show. He brings eyes. He brings energy. He brings a future. And if the Browns dump him for someone whose biggest accomplishment this year was a decent warm-up routine, you're telling your fans you don't care about performance. You care about pedigree. And don't get twisted. Arch Manning could be great. One day. Maybe. But he's not there now. He hasn't proven it. And drafting him while Shedeur's still on your roster is like buying a brand new sports car while your other one is still sitting in the driveway, engine running, ready to go. It's not just unnecessary, it's reckless. And the Browns? They've mastered reckless. But what makes this all the more maddening is the timing. We're still in the early stages of Shedeur's career. He hasn't had the reps, the consistency, the chance to grow in a system. And instead of investing in him, the Browns are out here window shopping at a college game like they're browsing quarterbacks on Black Friday. Imagine being Shedeur. You work your entire life to get here. You take the criticism, the disrespect, the comparisons, and you still rise. And before you even get your real debut, your team's off flirting with the next shiny name? That's not just disloyal, it's humiliating. Let's be real, this isn't how good organizations operate. This is how desperate ones act. This is panic disguised as vision. And if you think putting Shedeur on the practice squad is a good idea, congratulations. You just told every young quarterback in America that no matter how hard you work, the league will still chase the guy with the famous uncle. And don't think fans aren't noticing. Social media is already in meltdown mode. Browns Nation is eating itself alive. Half the fan base wants to ride with Shedeur and build something real. The other half? They're hypnotized by the Manning name like it's a cheat code. But here's what everyone's forgetting. Pedigree doesn't guarantee performance. For every Manning that becomes a legend, there's another legacy pick who flames out faster than a Twitter trend. And right now, Arch Manning looks less like a sure thing and more like a project wrapped in privilege. So if the Browns make this move, if they really demote Shedeur and bet the farm on Arch, they're not just risking a quarterback controversy. They're risking a mutiny. Because players talk. They see the politics. They know when a teammate's getting shafted for the wrong reasons. And if Cleveland thinks it can quietly stash Shedeur on the practice squad while rolling out the red carpet for Arch, they're in for a rude awakening. This league? It moves fast. And loyalty matters. Culture matters. When you build a team around trust, you can't make moves that feel like betrayal. Not unless you want your locker room to turn into a battlefield. And if that happens, good luck keeping any quarterback upright behind that O-line. So what now? The Browns are standing at a crossroads. They can choose chaos, draft Arch, sideline Shedeur, and hope the Manning name delivers miracles. Or they can double down on the kid who already proved he belongs, who's shown leadership, growth, and flashes of brilliance, who hasn't asked for anything except a real opportunity. And if they're smart, they'll do the latter. Because here's what no one wants to admit. If Shedeur Sanders gets cut, demoted, or replaced for no good reason, another team will pick him up, and he will make you regret it. The NFL has seen this movie before. The overlooked star who was doubted too soon, handed off like a backup plan, only to rise somewhere else and torch the league in revenge. And when that day comes, when Shedeur Sanders is starting under brighter lights in a bigger market, winning games while Cleveland scrambles to justify their quarterback room, we'll all look back at this moment. At Jimmy Haslam in that luxury suite. At Arch Manning missing another throw. At the choice that was right there and somehow still ignored. And we'll say, they had him. And they let him go. So let us know, would you take Arch over Shedeur right now? Drop your hottest takes in the comments, subscribe for more breakdowns, and stay tuned. Because in Cleveland, the quarterback drama never ends. And this story, it's just getting started. Browns insiders, executives, people who shake hands with Jimmy Haslam and sit at the same mahogany tables where careers are made or broken over a lukewarm cup of black coffee. These are the folks allegedly pushing the Arch over Shedeur narrative. And if the reports are even halfway true, the Browns aren't just flirting with chaos. They're proposing to it. And look, Cleveland has always had a complicated relationship with quarterbacks. This is the same franchise that cycled through more QBs than Spider-Man reboots. The jersey with all the crossed-out names? That's not just a meme, it's trauma. You'd think that by now, they'd learn to stop chasing shiny objects and start building something sustainable. But nope. Apparently, they'd rather toss Shedeur into the developmental graveyard while they chase a Manning like it's 2003 and Eli just left Ole Miss. But here's what's really twisted. This isn't just a move that could derail a quarterback room. It could unravel an entire culture. Shedeur didn't walk into the NFL just as a rookie. He walked in with momentum, with eyes on him, with a legacy that he built, not one that was handed to him on a gold-plated recruiting letter. And whether you like him or not, you can't deny, he earned his spotlight. At Jackson State, he wasn't just putting up numbers. He was leading. Then he follows his father to Colorado and handles one of the most heavily scrutinized seasons in college football history. Every throw, every sack, every sideline comment, analyzed to death. And still he stood tall, took the hits, took the criticism, and came out with a stat sheet and highlight reel that should have made him a first or second round lock. But no, he fell to the fifth. Because of concerns. Because of style. Because, let's be honest, he didn't fit the mold. And now, just as he's supposed to be getting his chance to prove everyone wrong, he's being replaced by a quarterback who, frankly, hasn't shown he's NFL ready at all. It's not just disrespectful. It's insulting. Let's really break this down. Arch Manning has been under the microscope since middle school. Every step he takes is covered by media like he's the quarterback pope. But what have we actually seen? Flashy recruiting videos? Sure. A big name? Obviously. But dominance? Consistency? Elite level reads under pressure? Crickets. In fact, the only thing Arch has proven so far is that people want him to be great. Whether or not he actually is, well, the jury's still out. Now, compare that to Shedeur, who's already handled professional-level scrutiny, who's played behind suspect defensive lines, who's taken real NFL hits, who's shown that he can stay calm in chaos. And despite being tossed into a league that barely blinked when he was drafted, he still shows up every day like a starter in waiting. And the Browns' response? Bench him. Maybe stash him on the practice squad. Go all in on the unproven prince. It's like watching someone trade in a fully gassed-up sports car for a prototype that hasn't passed emissions testing. But here's what's really maddening. This isn't just about talent. This is about narrative control. Arch Manning fits the old-school NFL fairy tale. The clean-cut, blue-blooded golden boy. Quarterback royalty. He says the right things. Does the right things. Looks the part. Shedeur? He rewrote the part. He's unapologetically confident. He's flashy. He wears the watch during warm-ups. He signs deals. He knows his value. He doesn't wait for the league to crown him. He acts like the crown's already on. And for a lot of people in those front offices, that's a problem. But for fans, that's what makes him magnetic. Because he doesn't play like he's trying to survive. He plays like he belongs. And Cleveland, of all teams, should respect that. You want to talk about resilience? About swagger in the face of disaster? Browns fans live that every single season. So why wouldn't they rally behind a quarterback who mirrors that same energy? Unless, of course, the organization isn't building a team for the fans, but for the optics, for the headlines, for the brand value of drafting a Manning, even if it means selling out someone who's already earned his shot. Let's fast forward, shall we? Picture the Browns take Arch media frenzy. Press conference. Haslam and Barry sitting there with rehearsed grins, dropping phrases like future of the franchise and unparalleled potential. Meanwhile, Shedeur's being shopped around the league like a clearance item. And somewhere out there, Dallas, Atlanta, maybe even Vegas, a team picks him up. They plug him in. Let him grow. Let him breathe. And 2 years from now, he's a star. Meanwhile, back in Cleveland, Arch is throwing ducks into double coverage and fans are burning jerseys on TikTok. And everyone's asking the same question. How did they blow it again? Because that's the danger of being blinded by bloodlines, of chasing nostalgia, of ignoring the player in front of you because you're too focused on the story you want to tell. And the worst part? This won't just affect Shedeur. This sends a message to every future quarterback who dares to do things differently, who comes in confident, who dares to not apologize for their ambition. It tells them, we don't care about performance. We care about pedigree. We care about the safe narrative. We care about the name on your birth certificate, not the name you built for yourself on the field. It's everything wrong with the way this league evaluates talent, wrapped in a neat little Cleveland disaster package. So here's the real choice the Browns are facing. You've got a quarterback who wants it, who's fought for it, who's been underestimated at every turn and still walks like a franchise leader. And you're thinking of tossing him aside for someone whose biggest accomplishment so far is being born into the right family? That's not strategy. That's insecurity in a suit and tie. And if Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry can't see that, they don't just deserve the chaos that's coming. They invited it. So if you're a Browns fan, you better start asking the hard questions. Loudly. Because Shedeur Sanders deserves more than whispers and hypotheticals. He deserves clarity, a commitment, a real chance. Not just because of what he represents, but because of what he's already proven. And if this team throws it all away for a press conference and a last name, they won't just be betting on a rookie. They'll be betting against reality. The fact that Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry can sit in a stadium, watch Arch Manning struggle to outplay a second-string Big Ten defense, and somehow walk away thinking, yes, that's the answer, is honestly jaw-dropping. It's not just misguided. It's almost poetic in how perfectly it captures the league's obsession with potential overperformance. Because here's the brutal truth nobody in that press box wants to say out loud. Shedeur Sanders has already shown more NFL-level qualities than Arch Manning has even hinted at. And yet, somehow he's the one on the chopping block? No, we're not letting that slide. Let's zoom in on this double standard because it's important. Shedeur, from day one, has had to prove himself. He wasn't handed anything. He didn't get a red carpet walk into Alabama or Georgia. He chose Jackson State. He built something from the ground up. He wasn't surrounded by five-star talent. He was the five-star talent. And he still put up numbers, carried a team, handled pressure, and earned his spot in Colorado, and eventually, the NFL. But because he came in with confidence? Because he dared to flex a little? Suddenly he's cocky. Suddenly he's not a team guy. Suddenly he's someone who needs to sit and learn while the organization chases a Manning fantasy? Make it make sense. Meanwhile, Arch Manning walks into a Power 5 program with more PR hype than LeBron in high school and proceeds to look average. Not bad, not great, just fine. Completely and totally fine. Nothing about his game is screaming franchise savior. And yet, the Browns are reportedly watching him like he's the second coming of Tom Brady. No, not even Tom Brady. Because Brady was a sixth-rounder who got overlooked. This is the league going all in on a name. And I hate to say it, but this is classic NFL behavior. We've seen this script before. The league has a type, and if you tick the right boxes, pedigree, appearance, family name, they'll move mountains to put you in a starting role, even if your performance says third-string clipboard holder. But if you come in like Shedeur, confident, polished, fully aware of your worth, they'll question everything. Suddenly, it's can he handle the pressure? Suddenly, it's is he coachable? Translation? He makes us uncomfortable because he knows he's good. And when the front office gets uncomfortable, they start looking for escape hatches. Enter Arch Manning. The ultimate safety blanket. The clean narrative. The golden boy with the legacy to distract from the fact that you might just be sabotaging your best shot at long-term success. So let's talk brass tacks. What exactly are you hoping to gain by pushing out Shedeur for Arch? Upside? You already have upside with Shedeur. Marketability? Please. Shedeur has TikTok in a chokehold and moves merch like an NBA All-Star. Leadership? Ask any of his teammates. The man walks into a room and owns it. He doesn't beg for attention. He commands it. Experience? Oh, right, I forgot. Arch is still in college. So what then? What's the real play here? Is it fear? Insecurity? Or just plain old ignorance? Because that's the vibe. Like the Browns are so afraid of missing out on the next big thing that they're willing to throw away the thing they already have. It's like ordering a $100 steak, getting it cooked perfectly medium rare, and then sending it back because someone whispered the word Wagyu at the next table. You know what happens when you run your team based on FOMO instead of facts. You end up exactly where the Browns have been for the last 2 decades. Spiraling in quarterback limbo, burning through promising talent like it's kindling, and wondering why nothing ever clicks. And let's not pretend that demoting Shedeur to the practice squad would be some minor little roster shuffle. That's a message. To the locker room. To the fans. To the rest of the league. It says, we don't trust you. It says, you're not our guy. And worse, it says, your resume doesn't matter. Your hype does. Which, in a league supposedly built on performance, is pretty rich. But here's where it gets really juicy. Because if the Browns actually follow through with this plan, if they draft Arch Manning, demote Shedeur, and bet the entire quarterback future of the franchise on hopium and lineage, They better be prepared for the receipts. Because Shedeur will leave. Oh yes, he will leave. And when he does, he's going to torch every team that passed on him, every coach that doubted him, every GM that looked at him and saw a marketing problem instead of a franchise solution. Picture this, 2 years from now, Shedeur's starting for a team that believed in him. Maybe it's Atlanta. Maybe it's Vegas. Maybe it's freaking New England. Doesn't matter. He's dropping 300 yards a game, silencing critics, leading comeback wins, and suddenly, those old headlines start resurfacing. Browns choose Arch Manning over Shedeur Sanders. Cue the highlight montages. Cue the fiery takes. Cue the they done messed up compilations. And meanwhile, back in Cleveland, Arch is still finding his rhythm. Or worse, he's getting booed out of First Energy Stadium by a fan base that's already sick of deja vu. Because Browns fans, they've seen this before. They've lived through the false promises, the revolving door of signal callers, the organizational excuses. They've had first-round busts, flash-in-the-pan saviors. They don't want a pedigree, they want a player. They want someone who won't just wear the jersey, but will give them something to believe in again. And that's Shedeur Sanders, whether the front office sees it or not. And honestly, maybe that's the biggest tragedy here. Not just the betrayal of a promising player, but the betrayal of a fan base that deserves better. A fan base that deserves a quarterback with fight, flair, and fire. Someone who wants to build, not just borrow from someone else's legacy. So what now? We wait. We watch. We brace for another chapter in the Browns' epic saga of quarterback misery. Will the franchise do the smart thing and double down on Shedeur, giving him the support and structure he needs to become the face of the team? Or will they make the same mistake they've made time and time again, chasing a name, ignoring the truth, and praying that pedigree wins championships? Because here's the deal. Pedigree doesn't throw touchdowns. Work ethic does. Leadership does. Grit does. And Shedeur Sanders? He's got all three. So let us know in the comments. Would you seriously start Arch Manning over Shedeur Sanders? Are the Browns just being the Browns again? Or is there something we're missing? Don't forget to subscribe, because if this situation goes nuclear, and let's be honest, it's Cleveland, so it will, you're going to want a front row seat for the fallout. This isn't just a quarterback debate. This is a franchise on the edge. And one wrong move could set the whole thing on fire.